Nolan Smith continues to impress at camp with crazy athleticism and playmaking ability, so how does defensive coordinator Desai plan to use him? Plus, Jalen Carter is bowling over 300-pound men, telling Cowboys fans to look out. And it's becoming very clear how the Eagles plan on using running back DeAndre Swift. That and everything else happening at camp. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? We've got some fantastic news with the Eagles officially, like I'm not joking, officially announcing the Kelee green jersey release date, which will happen on July 31st at 9 a.m., where you can cop one of those bad boys at one of the team pro shops, Lincoln Financial Field, Cherry Hill, or Lancaster. Quick note that the gates will open to fans at 8 a.m. in case you're going to the link, with Eagles cheerleaders, the drumline, swoop, and Eagles insider Dave Spadaro providing fan entertainment. I think it's best to plan on calling in sick because it sounds like there's a tailgate happening too.
I need you to get better. See you Monday, unless you're still sick. So have a great long weekend.
I'll just be sleeping.
Okay, yeah, the tailgate is without a doubt happening at 4A, so go ahead, enjoy it, and drop which Kelee green jersey you'll be buying first in the comments. While we're on the topic of not showing up for work, the Eagles were back at practice with the same news as before, with Haason Reddick taking it easy due to groin soreness, and then Avonte Maddox is playing it safe, still rehabbing from the toe surgery, as is Mr. Paycut himself, Derek Barnett, who we remember coming back from the ACL injury. By the way, if you didn't get the Paycut reference, I'll fill you in a sec, but first, let's talk about practice.
What are we talking about? Practice?
Yeah, man, everybody's talking about day 3, where Devontae Smith, Skinny Batman, got some work in early on the jugs machine, and then the group transitioned to ball security drills, yet just like on the first day where Sirianni stopped practice to regain the focus, he did it again, yelling specifically at the receiver group to shore up the fundamentals in ball security drills, which seemed to help because the group definitely looked sharper afterward and on point. And I'm very much in favor of battling that complacency. Like AJ Brown said, you've got to earn that respect all over again, so there's no rest, and the whole squad is going to hold everyone accountable. I like hearing that, and AJ backed it up, catching a nice fade pass from Hurts down the sideline as they started off 11 on 11s, followed by another strike down the right sideline to Quez Watkins, who Brandon Lee Gouton said may or may not have gotten both feet in bounds. Although it was the Wizard of Oz, Olamide Zaccheaus, who flashed, showcasing some remarkable hands and burning the defense on a catch and run. However, Elliott Shore-Parks apparently wasn't too impressed, since one of his main takeaways was that Quez Watkins still has a strong hold on the starting job. It is worth mentioning that while I think Quez remains the wide receiver 3, it's super early, so anything could happen. And AJ Brown is a big fan of the Oz competition, saying that's exactly what the squad needs, especially the versatility as a route runner and separation Zaccheaus creates in short to intermediate areas. That seems like the point of focus for the Birds too, with multiple reports mentioning Oz being heavily utilized in the screen game, so I'll be curious to see if that's an added wrinkle in the offense. Do you like the idea of Oz getting involved? And while we're at it, how about Swift in the passing game too? Since Agent Zero was notably active as a receiver in practice, making a couple nice grabs and showcasing his dual threat ability. And as Brandon Lee Gouton pointed out, he doesn't recall Swift having any drops so far, looking like a pretty natural pass catcher, which is a great sign because running back catches have the potential to be a bigger part of the offense this year. Yes, you're right, that's not a super high bar we're comparing to from last season. Yet I think Swift can catch easily over 50 balls, especially if he keeps it up like this. I mean, there weren't many reports about Kenny G or Rashad Penny from day 3, but at least we've got the tracker for total touches among running backs. Isn't it a little surprising that besides the 5 catches Swift has had, Rashad Penny is the only other back to register a catch? I at least like to see the usage being spread around, and thankfully no one's gotten injured at camp. Oh man, did I just jinx us?
What the hell?
Alright, there was a split second when I thought Boston Scott had suffered an injury, with him limping off to the sideline. Fortunately, EJ Smith updated he was back on the field toward the end of team sessions and seemed to be fine. Although Trey Sermon wasn't feeling so great despite a solid first practice, after it was shared he fumbled, and clearly not the impression you're trying to make for a guy wanting to make the roster. Overall, it was a better day for the offense, with Jalen Hurts going 11 for 14 and Marcus Mariota flipping the script from the miserable day 1, making one of the plays of the day when he connected on a deep touchdown pass to Greg Ward. Yes, he's still on the roster. And Mariota managed to go an entire practice without turning the ball over, which is saying something with this defense. Yet the winners were still the Georgia Dogs, like Jordan Davis, who defensive coordinator Desai is really impressed with so far.
I love the shape that he's coming in. I love the mentality that he's been playing with. I love what Coach Rocker's done with him to kind of keep him motivated and keep him going. And it's early. We want to see that day in and day out. You know, we're a long ways away from playing a regular season game right now. And so it's about focusing on that process and being mentally tough enough to go through that process and play at the same level every day in this heat, you know, in these conditions, and those things are real. And that's really what we want to see of everybody, including him.
Well, they're definitely also seeing that from my favorite rook, the happy juice, Energizer Bunny, bring it on every single rep guy, continued turning heads after sacking Jalen Hurts. He's clearly impressing everyone with his ridiculous athleticism, and one of the many reasons I ordered his jersey as soon as he was drafted, because he's Superman, adding to the reports of him abusing Brady Russell by throwing him to the ground and sacking Marcus Mariota, creating pressure to cause an interception, and forcing a fumble coming off the edge thanks to his insane get-off and quick twitch. What can't this guy do? I'm honestly not sure, because Jimmy Kempski noticed the Eagles had him cover Boston Scott, easily locking him up, and then even had the rook lined up over Britton Covey in the slot toward the end of practice. Note the very interesting utilization.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't!
It's hard to say why the Birds are lining him up in a variety of spots, but it's also not entirely unusual. Remember during OTAs, we got reports of Nolan Smith being used in a stacked linebacker role, leading to Inside the Birds Jeff Mosher to say he believes Smith has all the traits to be like Fred Warner is in the 49ers defense. Alright, I don't know about that. Kinda seems a bit far-fetched, although not impossible, I guess. Like Honest NFL tweeted, if the Eagles are going to use Nolan Smith off ball, my guess is they're going to install the Mint front. Mint uses an off-ball linebacker as the fourth rusher quite often, and Smith knows the linebacker reads and progressions for it. Any other scenario wouldn't seem very logical to me. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert with formations and defensive schemes. All I know is Georgia uses a Mint front, so I suppose you could say it's possible Nolan could make a move. Plus, Todd McShay did say before the draft that despite Smith being a 3-4 edge, he could see some schemes making him an off-ball linebacker that on obvious passing downs, you turn him loose on the edge and you're getting the freakish athletic ability. And like we've already seen, this dude is tough, who's not afraid to mix it up with his combo of speed and power to create chaos. Sorry, I still don't see that happening. Sure, it'd be fun to see Nakobe and Nolan, but we don't want to make the same mistake Arizona did with Haason Reddick, do we? To jog your memory, Reddick was drafted 13th overall in 2017 by the Cardinals, where he was moved from an edge rusher at Temple to an off-ball linebacker, and didn't do much at all until being moved back to quarterback destroyer. At this point, you know the rest of the story. 10 plus sacks for 3 seasons with 3 different teams, so there's a lot to be said about finding your true calling. What do you think though? Is this crazy, or do you like the idea of Smith playing off-ball linebacker? Personally, I see the most recent reports of him being moved around, suggesting the fact that Philly sees him more of a weapon and someone Desai wants to get on the field as much as possible.
Right now, we're at the phase where we just got to get everybody reps. I'm not a big, hey, these are the ones, these are the twos, these are the threes. Like, we got to get everybody reps, we got to get everybody on tape, we got to get everybody evaluated. Individual drills are a big part of that. We just like to roll guys and make sure we get the combinations in and make sure everybody's getting an opportunity. Because that's what training camp's about, right? Getting everybody an opportunity to compete.
I've talked about it before, but Nolan is just different, and I could easily see him having an official position calling him the playmaker. But I love the competition, and the more I hear Desai talk, the more I agree with Victor Williams that the Eagles win that Super Bowl with Sean Desai at defensive coordinator based on his mindset alone. I know that's not helping anything, but doesn't listening to Desai speak give you the 2000s identity for this team's defense? Regardless, we do need to solidify linebacker, which hasn't looked great for Nicholas Morrow so far, as Brandon Lee Gouton noted. Whenever he notices Morrow, he's always getting beat in coverage. In fairness, Goddard is a super tough cover, so maybe we give him some slack, because quite frankly, we're still waiting on any sort of practice moment from Nakobe Dean as well, since the Birds drafted him. Honestly, I'm not concerned. I think Nakobe will be great, but could Howie Roseman be getting ready to make another move for a linebacker? With Phil Yates reporting the Eagles restructured Derek Barnett's contract from a max value of $8.5 million to a max value of $6 million. It's cool to see Barnett take a pay cut, and obviously Howie's been open about being open to bringing in another linebacker, so who knows? Do you think this signals a signing is coming? And if so, let me know who it is in the comments. While you're doing that, I think we should make mention of the incredible freak that Jalen Carter is. As Martin Frank reported on one play at camp, Jalen Carter was double teamed and completely bowled them over. Didn't make the tackle, but strung the play out for someone else. I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know, but he's a beast, and obviously has a ton of confidence now, saying after practice, I want to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. I have a lot of goals. They change every day, but the main goal is to be Defensive Rookie of the Year and to kill the Cowboys. Believe it or not, I actually didn't add that last part. The Breadman really said that in an interview with SI.com last week, since everybody's got beef, so he might as well join the wave. He's fitting in so nicely. Yet I think it struck a chord with Micah Parsons, who a couple days later seemed to fire back when he said, I think we're the top team in the NFC. We didn't lose Javon Hargrave and then just draft somebody. We have everybody across the board.
No, I'm sure of it. I hate him.
So at first, I was definitely fired up, but I think it's also important in this day and age to not overreact to a quote, since there's context and sarcasm that can so easily get lost. And after listening to the live comment, I don't know that it's actually that bad.
We didn't lose, Javon Hargrave and then draft somebody.
Right. Yeah.
We have everybody across the board. So when you talk about years of playing together, years of experience, I think we're up there to be that better team.
Parsons is still obviously wrong about the top team in the NFC, yet I didn't take his somebody comment as near the slight that the quote initially showed. Plus, we already know how he feels about the Georgia Dogs anyway.
I'm just so shocked 8 teams let Jalen Carter fall to 9 for this. The value of that pick is crazy. You let Javon Hargrave, a 10-plus sack D tackle, go. He gets signed for 85 and you get the value of 20. I mean, that's an A+ pick.
He knows they're all good players, but what do you think? Was Micah being intentional and taking a shot at Jalen, or is this no big deal? Regardless, there'll always be beef, and no amount of Jennifer Slay's world-famous banana pudding will make amends.
With that banana pudding, you know what I'm saying? Some of the best in the world.
However, it was apparently enough to make amends with Matt Patricia, as Slay admitted it took a lot for us to talk. But thankfully, after Patricia was given some of the tasty homemade goodness, all is well. All right, not really. Although I'd love to try the world-famous pudding everyone talks about in case Jennifer ever sees this video or anyone has a connection. Back to the actual beef though, it's been officially squashed with Slay saying they now have a great understanding since they both talked it out as grown men. Slay said, "He's a man, I'm a man, so we just handled it. We respect each other enough to put everything aside and let's move forward and get better. We now communicate every day, talk every day, and we're just trying to build everything going forward because at the end of the day, we want to win." That's his main goal, and that's my main goal. And we're going to continue to keep building.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
That might be a little exaggerated, yet I love to see them working out, and I think it especially shows the leadership on Slay's part to put it behind him, especially with the All-Pro saying just 5 months ago that Patricia's disrespect still fuels him. Remembering that when he told Patricia he was working out in the offseason with Richard Sherman and Aqib Talib, Patricia responded by telling Slay that he's not as good as them. Patricia basically just said, "You're not in that category yet," and at the time I only had 1 Pro Bowl, but now I have 5, so I want to know how he feels about that now. Slay said he didn't wish bad about Patricia and that he knows his X's and O's, but the disrespect is real and that's not something that he's with. So I'll admit, I was really skeptical of the hire at first, but I'm glad they were able to move past it. And judging by Sirianni's comments, Patricia's already making a lasting impression.
He's been an excellent resource for me. He's got a ton of experience. It's nice to have a former head coach on the staff that I'm able to bounce some things off of.
One guy who doesn't have a lot of experience but worth mentioning is Tyler Steen, who was noticed getting extra reps with Stoutland before practice began. However, Cam Jurgens got the first team reps again and no signs are pointing to a pending change coming soon. But it's early, so we'll keep an eye on this one. This has been the Philly Special.